Hey, what's up everybody? Hammerheart Metal Reviews here once again. Today we're doing another discography countdown and we are going to be talking about Dark Fortress. If you have not heard this band before, they are from Germany. Gone through some different phases throughout their career in terms of style. I will loosely describe them as melodic black metal. That's how they started out in sound, and they've always kind of kept that root in melodic black metal, but later in their career they incorporated a lot more progressive leanings, and really the style shifts even just from album to album. They really never stayed with one specific sound too long. They always tried to experiment and expand their sound. So which albums you're gonna prefer probably really depends on your specific tastes as to which ones will be the best. This band did just recently announce that they are calling it quits. They're going out on a farewell tour and then they're disbanding. So I figured what better time to do a discography ranking than right now. Doesn't look like they're going to be releasing any more material, but we've got 8 albums by them to enjoy. And on today, I'm going to run through them from my least favorite down to my favorite. So there is a noticeable shift halfway through their career. Their first 4 albums had one vocalist, Azathoth, and then their last 4 albums have a different vocalist, Morian. So you will see which vocalist I like better, probably based on which albums I'm putting first and last, but I won't get into that too much. I don't want to spoil the surprise. They're both good vocalists, but I do prefer one to the other for sure. And yeah, out of these 8 albums, I don't think there's any like pure stinkers here. There's definitely some that I like a lot more than others, but even the ones that I'm ranking near the end still have some pretty good songs on them and are still pretty solid albums. There's nothing here that's really terrible for sure. But yeah, anyways, before I ramble on too long, let's just get into this. So, coming in 8th place, my least favorite Dark Fortress album is Eidolon from 2008. So this was their 5th album, the first album to feature Morian, their second vocalist. As mentioned, it is a noticeable shift. I think I prefer the first vocalist to the second. It's not a knock on the Morian. I think he's still a pretty good vocalist, but I do prefer the original vocalist a little bit. But this album, it's not 8th because of the vocals. It's just, I find it's not quite as dynamic as the few albums that preceded it. This one's more of just like straight ahead black metal. There's not as much experimentation going on. I found this one, like looking over the course of their career, I felt it was kind of a step back after their last couple albums that were right before this. It's kind of just a basic black metal album, almost like unspectacular, I guess I could say. It's not bad by any stretch. Like, this isn't a terrible album. I just don't find it as engaging or as interesting as some of their other stuff. But that being said, there are still some highlight tracks here, like The Unflash and Edge of Night. So all in all, it's a decent album. It's not terrible, but it was a somewhat easy choice to come in 8th place for me. It's definitely the one that I listened to the least out of all these albums. Up next at number 7, I'm actually going with the album that followed that one up, called Ylem from 2010. So compared to Eidolon, I do actually think this is a big step up. There's a lot more variation on this album than on Eidolon. Kind of saw them going in a new direction. Brought in some clean vocals in a few spots here and there, and even like some spoken word. Really interesting vocal approach on this album for sure. Really tries different styles even from song to song. The one knock on this album, it is 70 minutes long. That's a bit long for this kind of music. I would prefer this to be trimmed a little bit. It's drags on a little bit too much. Some of their albums are a little bit on the lengthy side, but nonetheless, overall, it is a step up from Eidolon. There's some great tracks on here too, like Silence. The Valley is a very interesting track. So all in all, pretty good album in 7th place. All right, up next at number 6, I'm going to 2006 with their 4th album, Seance. So this one still had the original vocalist, and this one really combines a lot of different styles and influences into the sound here. It's really great at building atmosphere. Like, compared to the first 3 albums, this really dialed up the atmosphere and what they were going for in the overall soundscape of the album. And this one really has like great solos and lead work on display. That is probably the highlight of this album. There is a lot of experimentation, like I said, with their sound. Maybe it's a bit uneven, unfocused throughout, but it is a very interesting and engaging album. You never really know what's coming next. I don't think this is quite as strong as their first 3 albums in my opinion, but it is a very interesting and solid album. Like I said, it was the last album to feature their original vocalist. If I had to pick favorite songs, Cat Womb, Poltergeist, all in all, pretty solid album in 6th place. All right, now we're into the top 5. Coming in 5th place, I'm going to 2014 with Venereal Dawn. So this one is their second most recent album, and this one is probably their like darkest atmosphere. It's almost doomy in parts. It's really like combining like atmospheric doom with their melodic black metal and progressiveness as well. This has got tons of progressive parts. Still like, while it's still rooted in like melancholic and melodic black metal, it's really expanding their sound. This is probably their most expansive album, kind of going different directions, but it really works here. The vocals once again are varied, and it's got different styles of songs and different vocal approaches from song to song. And I've really found that they're like embracing this new style of the band, and it works really well here compared to like Eidolon and Ylem. This shifted the direction and it succeeded. This is a great album. It is 71 minutes long as well. Once again, maybe could have used a little bit of trimming because it does tend to drag, but nonetheless, that doesn't take away from how good this album is. My favorite song, I can't even pronounce it. It's like Loigar. If you know the album, you know which song I'm talking about. And then I'm the Jigsaw of a Mad God is also a great song. All in all, very solid album in 5th place. Up next in 4th, I'm going with their most recent album, which was from 2020, which I guess now is their final album, Specters from the Old World. So this one was a logical follow-up to Venereal Dawn, but it wasn't necessarily as experimental or as expansive as that album. Still got a very nice mix and variation in like tempos and styles from song to song, but it is a little more streamlined than their previous albums. It's kind of almost like back to basics, but it's still like, on one hand, it's got these like straightforward black metal songs with like crushing drums and that are really aggressive, but then it does still build some atmosphere and has lots of changes in pace, some mid-tempo songs, some slower songs, some progressive moments. So it's a little bit all over the map. I feel like this is the album that kind of has a throwback to their earlier days, but then also embraces their later days. So probably would be a great album maybe to start with the band, so that if you're into the less progressive stuff, there's some of that here. If you're into the more progressive stuff, there's some of that as well. So a little bit of something for everyone on this album. There's tons of great riffs, and I feel like this was Morian's best vocal performance in the band. This one was trimmed a little bit. It's, I think, under an hour, so that's better than like over 70 minutes. It's much better digestible length than the last couple albums. Favorite tracks on here, Coalescence, the title track, Specters from the Old World, is awesome. Pazuzu is great. So all in all, really solid album. Could have even been higher than 4th, but for today, it's in 4th place. All right, 3 more to go, and it is their first 3 albums. What order am I gonna put them in? This was really tough, actually. Not my number 1. I knew going into this what number 1 was gonna be. It's just the album I listened to the most. But between 2nd and 3rd, it's kind of a toss-up. These could flip on any given day. But for today, coming in 3rd place, I'm going to 2004 with their 3rd album, Stab Wounds. So this one, compared to the album before it that I haven't talked about yet, the keyboards were dialed back a little bit. It's still got a very like dark and misanthropic tone. Like, this is a very hate-filled album, but riffs for days. There's so much melody while still being really fast and aggressive. It's got like crystal clear production here. Like, this isn't raw black metal. This is very overproduced, which maybe is a knock for some people, might not like it, but the drums are great here, just blasting and fast paced. It's really relentless. This one is about an hour long, which maybe could be a bit long for the style, but front to back, it's just a pretty solid album. Favorite tracks on here, the title track, Stab Wounds, is great. Despise the Living, A Midnight Poem is awesome as well. All in all, this one could even rise up to 2nd place on any given day, but for today, it's in 3rd. Up next in 2nd place, I'm going to their sophomore album, which is from 2003, Profane Genocidal Creations. So this one, I could see probably a lot of people would have this ranked lower on their list because it might not be for everyone. This one really dialed up the symphonics and keyboard influences. like compared to the debut, the sound's completely different. This is like symphonic, melodic black metal, kind of a mix. Like on the melodic side, they've still got that influence of bands like Dissection, but then this album went more in like a Dimmu Borgir type direction, maybe shades of early Emperor, stuff like that. A much more keyboard driven album than anything else in their career, really. It's got really long songs. It is another one that's probably maybe slightly too long. It's around 70 minutes, so it kind of might drag a little bit, but there's still excellent riffs on this album. Even if the style shifted completely from their debut, it's still really great. Like, I love a lot of this album, even if it is a bit overlong. They sprinkle in some female vocals here and there as well. And there's just some great tracks here, like Passage to Extinction, Morebound Be Thy Creation has a really great guitar riff in there. Warlord, Face the Angel of Pestilence is awesome. So all in all, some people don't like this album. I do. I don't mind symphonic black metal. I really like it on occasion, and this one is a solid album. So that just leaves one, my favorite Dark Fortress album, which honestly, compared to all these other albums, in my opinion, this is a landslide, way fucking better than anything else they ever did, and that is their debut album from 2001, Tales from Eternal Dusk. This album kicks fucking ass. Like, if you like melodic black metal and have not heard this album, do yourself a favor and go listen to it right now. Disregard the rest of their discography, because not all, like, okay, to take that with a grain of salt. I'm not saying discard it. There's still good albums there. But if you just want a solid melodic black metal album, go listen to Tales from Eternal Dusk. It will blow you away. This is very much in the vein of a band like Dissection. Doesn't have the experimentation that some of their later albums have. This is just got so many great songs front to back. It's flawless. Got these melancholic acoustic moments sprinkled in. The vocals are great too. Azathoth really nails it here. It's like emotional and powerful, and these songs are catchy and memorable. The lead work is great. Like, the guitar riffs are melodic and glorious. This feels epic, like you're in the middle of a battle, like it's a battle-like atmosphere, but so melodic and pummeling. It's just amazing. It's a masterpiece in melodic black metal. If you're into that style, I strongly suggest going and listening to this album. Even if you don't, like, maybe you've heard a different Dark Fortress album and kind of wrote them off, go listen to this one. It's awesome. Kills everything else in their discography. Like I said, favorite tracks, Pilgrim of the Nightly Spheres, Immortality Profound, the trilogy. There's 3 songs in a row that kind of all tie together. Really awesome. Crimson Tears is a definite highlight. But really, like I said, front to back, there's no weak moments. The riffs here really steal the show. Kick-ass album in at number 1. So anyways, these are just my thoughts and opinions as usual. I'd love to get yours down below. Give me your favorite albums by them. Rank all 8 albums if you feel like it. And until next time, Hammerheart Metal Reviews.